that he had these problems that at one point required that he be brought in for a while. We don't know for how long, but you didn't know about any of this.
No, not at all. The university officials never told us ever, and he pretty much never conversed with any one of us. I pretty much did not know what his major was until yesterday. Talking to his roommate before that, I thought he was a business major, but I found out yesterday that he was an English major, which was pretty weird because when he didn't talk, I assumed, one of the things I assumed was that maybe he does not know how to converse in English too much. Yeah,
I thought that might that might explain to you fellas why he didn't talk, but you did believe he spoke English well enough to communicate. I mean, you believed that.
In the beginning, in the beginning, I believed that he did not know English too well.
Oh, so that's how you explained to yourselves that he wasn't talking to anybody.
That was one of the ways, yes.
And then you find out the other day that he's an English major.
Yeah, and it was really surprising that he wrote all those plays and was pretty fluent. I was surprised to find out that he moved to the United States in '92. I was assuming that he maybe came in the year that he moved into our suite last year in August.
Unbelievable. Let me ask you just about the usual things that college kids talk to each other about. Did he ever have girl troubles? Did he ever come back looking especially miserable because he'd been shot down by a girl? Or anything like that occur to you?
No, most times he stayed in. Like I said, I either saw him sitting down working on his laptop writing something, or sitting down watching TV in the lounge. If I came late at night, he'd be sitting down next to the entrance just watching TV.
What did he watch?
On Friday nights, he used to watch wrestling pretty regularly. And other times I just saw him watch Spike TV game shows.
Okay, let's ask about that. Let me get into this video game thing. Do you know anything about Counter-Strike as a video game?
Yes.
Was he into it?
But I never saw him play any video games on his computer. Most times, like I said, he just wrote on his computer. He had a Word document open and he just kept on typing away for. Sometimes, I would see him typing at 10 o'clock in the morning, and I would come back at 12 and he would still be there.
And he was writing in English?
Yes.
So you did believe he was conversant in English, he just wasn't a good speaker of English, you thought?
Well, once I saw him typing in English, I thought maybe he just does not want to talk to any of us, because he never showed when I said hi to him, he never showed as if he did not want to talk to me, or a disgust on his face, or anger. He just did not have any expression. He looked away. So that just showed me that he was really shy, not dangerous in any way at all.
You're a very tolerant young man. I would have said that if I had a roommate or a suite mate in college who was that weird, as you put it, who never communicated, you'd say, let's go out for dinner tonight, or let's go to a movie, or let's go to this social thing, or let's go to a club. You guys were never inclined to say that to him because you assumed he'd always say nothing, right?
We just assumed he would say nothing, since he never even told us his name, really. The only way I knew his name was his name posted on his door by the RA.
Do you guys have any choice in your roommates at Virginia Tech? I mean, it seems like he would be the last guy drawn on the list.
Well, we can choose our roommates who live in the room with us, but if you don't choose one, it's random assignment. But you cannot pick your suite mates. So most of us in the suite, we were there by random choice. We didn't pick our roommates.
Did you ever wonder why you got him?
As a suite mate, not really. I just thought in a suite you have much more privacy than regular dormitories where you just have one hallway with doors. So that kind of explained to me why he might choose a suite rather than a regular dormitory.
If you had to be a psychiatrist right now, how would you explain what happened here?
I'm totally in disbelief that he was capable of doing this. He just seemed very lonely most of the times. I didn't think he was capable of anything violent at all. I saw him started going to the gym recently, so I guess he was trying to take care of himself more. But he did not seem like a guy who had a death wish.
Did he seem like he was trying to get more buff to be more appealing to girls? Did you see that? Or did you see anything like that, a romantic frustration in him? Or something about, you know, being disappointed in love, the things that always happen in college? You didn't see any of that with him?
Nah, I just assumed, well, I did assume that he was going to the gym to get a little bit buff. He was pretty skinny, and I heard reports on TV that he was 6 feet tall, but wasn't really. I think he was more like 5'8" or 5'9", a little bit shorter than me.
Yeah, and you think he was trying to get in shape?
That's what I assumed, because I always saw him in the weight room at the gym.
But you didn't know why he was driven to that?
Nah, I just assumed that he was trying to get buff, you know, look better.
Yeah. Let me ask you about, is there any culture at Virginia Tech about video games, anything that guys talk about, like video games like this Counter-Strike game?
Well, there's a lot of tournaments that people do by themselves, but there's no formal club.
But what about the informal? Is there a subculture around video games?
Not really. Some people are interested in it, some are not. There's no big culture about any kind of violent games or anything now.
Let me ask you about
sports, I would think.
Mostly sports. So mostly if you talked about stuff, you'd talk about basketball and stuff like that.
Exactly.
Let me ask you about the way the police treated you the day of the horror on Monday. When they came into your room that night at 7:30, what did they do? How many police were there, and what did they do to you?
When the police first showed up, they knocked on our door, but I was really hesitant to open the door because I was pretty scared what happened that day. So I kept my door closed for about 10 minutes until I was really sure it was the police. And when I opened the door, when they were banging on the door really hard, they had guns drawn, and a person was screaming, "Put your hands up!" And they rushed us outside, handcuffed us, separated all the suite mates into different rooms, and kept us there until somebody came to interview us.
Do you think that was justified?
I guess I do understand why they did that. I guess they weren't sure if any of us were affiliated with him at all. But once they found out that none of us ever had a conversation with him or never really hung out with him on a personal level, they were pretty calm later on and explained to us what had happened.
Were you shocked to know that, I don't want to do a leading question here, but were you surprised to know that he was carrying in his possession, in his suite that you shared with him, 2 semi-automatic pistols?
I was really shocked that he had the guns in his room, and I heard the police talk about that he was filing off the serial numbers because the whole last week I was in my room and I never heard anything strange coming from his room or any kind of strange smells or anything at all.
Yeah, that is so strange.
I was really
because
surprised.
I agree with you completely, Karan, because it seems to me that why did he file off the serial numbers if he kept the receipt in his room of the purchase of the gun and the ammo clip, and he used a credit card to buy the gun with? He must have not been a very smart criminal, if you will, to do all that and leave all that kind of a trail.
Yeah, definitely. When I talked to Joseph about how the room looked when Joseph came back that afternoon, his room, Joseph's the person who lived in the same room as him. He told me his laptop was still on his table, his books were still on his table. It didn't seem like he was leaving to go anywhere. It seemed like he was just coming back from, he would come back from class tonight. Well, we all assumed when he wasn't there that he must be in one of the residence hall, not allowed by the police to get out.
You know, I have to tell you, as much as I'm into this belief that a person could be a roommate, you guys are very tolerant. Maybe it's, I don't know whether it's diversity or something, but today in school you're much nicer to classmates and roommates than we ever were. If we had a roommate that never talked at all to any of us, I think people would be asking for changes of roommates. But I must say, it also seems so similar to what you hear about these killers, mass killers included, that they're so quiet and they're so hard to find and hard to notice, that what you've been through does sound like what happens so often. The quiet guy who never heard a flea all of a sudden goes on a rampage and you don't know what's coming. And God, I feel for you, buddy. And thank you very much for giving us this insight into this hard that nobody else can give us except a suite mate. And I really appreciate you coming on the program tonight.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.